and welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood, and I have my husband John here with me on the show today. We have a project to share with you that is very inspiring. Actually, it's a project in two parts with a long story. Let's talk about Bangkok Outreach.
Yeah, it's a very benign name, but it's got an exciting story.
Purpose
Yes.
and story.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
Talk about the cities, because I know the cities are a hard thing for people. So let's just dive right in. This is Bangkok. This is a big city.
A really big city. You know, we have a lot of wonderful outreach in the jungles of Thailand and different places, but Mrs. White says to go into the cities as well. And today, for the first time, the last couple of years, they transitioned to more people live in cities today than live outside of cities. Okay. So the majority of people in the world today live in cities.
Nearly 12 million people live in Bangkok. But what does that mean? How do you wrap your mind around a number that big? Think of it this way. If the 1,200 Adventists that live in Bangkok were to share the gospel with one new person every day, it would take nearly 30 years to reach everyone in the city.
The number two largest city in Washington State, Spokane, only had approximately 10 churches in the metro area. And that's a city of 500,000. Wow. So here we have 7 established churches, 22 church plants in a city of 12 million. So is the job done?
Definitely not.
I don't just know people. That's what I've been taught, like in Sabbath school and stuff, that Jesus is coming any day because the word has been preached everywhere around the world.
You're here in Thailand now. Is that the case?
No.
Why?
It's not. Because, like Pastor Doug was saying, there's less than 1% has claimed Christ as their Savior, and I mean, there's plenty that, I mean, sure there may be people that have heard of him, but there's plenty that haven't even gotten that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
คือคำถามของเรามีว่ารู้จักคณะวันเสาร์กลุ่มคริสเตียนวันเสาร์ไหมคะที่เขานมัสการกันวันเสาร์ที่เขาจะพูดถึงเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของพระเจ้าเคยได้ยินไหมไม่เคยได้ยิน They say they never heard about Jesus.
Really?
Yeah, they never. ไม่เคยได้ยินเกี่ยวกับศาสนานี้มาก่อน
Would you like to know? Would you like to
อยาก
know?
จะรู้จักศาสนานี้ไหมคนมาพูดเกี่ยวกับศาสนาคริสเตียนก็มาพูดถึงเกี่ยวกับพระเยซูให้ฟังไหมคะไม่เคยได้ยินไม่มีญาติพี่น้องคนไหนที่เป็นคริสเตียนไม่มีนะคะและแถวที่คุณลุงอยู่ก็ไม่มีคนเป็นคริสเตียนไม่มีเกี่ยวกับเรื่องราวของคริสเตียนหรือว่าเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของพระเยซูไหมไม่รู้ค่ะไม่เคยได้ยินถ้าเกิดว่ามีคนจะมาพูดหรือว่าจะมาพูดเกี่ยวกับเรื่องราวแบบนี้ให้น้องฟังน้องอยากจะรู้จักไหมคะอยากเลยค่ะ
So it's a
Incredible.
big city, and there's people there who have never heard of Jesus.
Yeah, and living in this country, most people have heard the name of Jesus, or they've heard about Christianity, but in many parts of that country, there is no knowledge.
So we do have an Ellen White quote about the cities we wanted to share with our viewers. So I'll go ahead and share that now. Close around us are cities and towns in which no efforts are made to save souls. Why should not families who know the present truth settle in these cities and villages to set up there a standard of Christ, working in humility, not in their own way, but in God's way, to bring the light before those who have no knowledge of it? That's from the Review and Herald, September 29, 1891. And let's keep going, because we've got a lot to go through yet.
All right.
The next part of the story is a faith camp. Now, what is a faith camp?
Faith camp, that was your idea. And it's
It
basically
was God's idea.
A camp meeting. It's a do-it-yourself camp meeting that we started on my parents' property, and now we've done over 20 of them, both in America and in Asia. But it's a camp meeting all about missions. And we call it Faith Camp because it takes a lot of faith to get involved with missions.
Yes.
So much work still to be done. And we can't go with the traditional methods of it is like we can't wait for an organization to do this work. It's got to be you, me, whoever is just dedicating their lives to God and putting it all on the line. And so this is what Faith Camp is all about. So we invited the Atwells to come and be part of our prayer room because we tasted this whole prayer thing and love it. And so we've always had a prayer room at Faith Camp. So we invited them to come and run the prayer room. So they came to Faith Camp in 2012, and what happened?
Well, not very many people went to the prayer room.
Yeah.
So they got to go to the meetings.
They were all listening at the meetings.
Yes. So, yeah, people didn't want to miss the meetings.
Yeah.
So they went to prayer, I think, between and things, but they didn't go during the meetings. So Brian and Jessica were able to come to the meetings.
Yeah.
And they heard some of the missionaries speaking, and they saw those I Want This City shows with Pastor Doug Venn.
Yeah. And something happened in their heart. They saw the need. They saw where the need was greater. They realized that here in America, there's needs here in America. There's need of the gospel and gospel workers. But, you know, if one Christian leaves, there's still millions of Christians left, unlike the place where it's dark.
Right.
And so...
And we had never met Brian and Jessica before that Faith Camp. And we had asked someone else to run the prayer room, and they weren't available. But Brian and Jessica were Bible workers, Bible worker trainers, actually, in that conference, and so their friends asked them to be our prayer coordinators for Faith Camp. So it was really neat that we got to meet them, and then they became so on fire for Bangkok.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they saw the need, and so they responded.
Right. So we have a picture of them, and this is how they fundraised to get to Thailand in the first place. They said, "We'll preach for Thailand," and they went around and did training and evangelistic series and whatever the churches wanted them to do. They did that in order to fundraise to go to Thailand.
Right. And then they found out that they were pregnant.
Yes.
And they had their child, and the child had some complications.
Yeah, here's a picture of the three of them on the bike.
This is in Bangkok now.
Right.
That even though the child had some complications, they felt God calling them anyway.
Right. And so they did a lot of praying.
Yeah.
And the Lord provided a special piece of equipment that they needed in order to help keep Asher in good health. And they were able to take that equipment with them to Thailand.
Yeah.
And so they could go anyway. And they just saw that even if there's an obstacle, the Lord has an answer.
Absolutely. And when you go forward in faith, that's when God can bless. And so they went over to Thailand, and they spent over a year doing language study, which is incredibly wise because now they can interact with the locals. Whereas if you can't...
And he has actually preached in Thai.
Yep.
Yes.
And so there are missionaries over there that have been there for 5-10 years, still don't know Thai, still reliant on a translator. But he can go in there, interact with the Thais, and it's a wonderful thing.
We have a little video of them we want to show now.
In July of 2012, we were asked to be the prayer room coordinators at Faith Camp, and that's where we both felt impressed by God to serve in the foreign mission field.
We came over not knowing what we were doing, but we decided to come and study the language and the culture while we prayed to see for God's guidance. And near the end of our language training, he directed us to start a business and use that as a medium for building relationships in the community. So in trying to figure out what to do as far as a business, we prayed, and we had gotten into rock climbing and found that Thai people were actually interested in it. And so we saw rock climbing as an interesting avenue to build relationships. Yesterday, for instance, we went out to the wall, and it was a perfect day because they were doing graduation for the university. And a guy walked over, and I asked if he had ever climbed, and he said no. And I said, "Do you want to try it?" And he said, "Well, I'm not sure." And then he asked his buddy, who's wearing a full graduation robe, and he said, "Yeah, I want to try it." And so he came over, and I told him he should take his robe off, and he goes, "I want to leave it on." And he opens it up, and he's wearing a full suit underneath. So he got geared up, and he was was just excited, and he went up and you know, and he was just willing to try it out, and he came down, he fell after his first try, and I asked if he was done, and he said, no, I want to try one more time, you know, and he just saw it as something really exciting and fun. And then afterwards we talked to him, and they said they were really interested in getting into it, and they said, you know, do you come here every day? I told them we come 3 days a week, and they said, well, we'd like to come with you if you can call us, and we would love to come out here with you a couple days. You know, so it's something simple, you know, it's a good medium to be able to connect with people and connect that bridge to Christ. We're looking at buying land rather than even a building and renovating it, and setting up a rock climbing gym with some other aspects. We'll have a lecturing room where we can offer talks on depression recovery and addiction recovery, as well as nutrition and health and different aspects of that. Building connections through that fitness side of things, as well as, you know, we'll have a small snack bar, juice bar type thing as well.
You build relationships really quickly with somebody when your life is attached to a rope that's attached to them. We just see God lining things up in His perfect timing, and so we're praying right now about the location and just waiting to move forward.
The government, in allowing foreigners to own a company here, they have a couple of stipulations, and one of those is that you're required to bring in the equivalent of US $60,000 working capital, and to show that you're using that for the business, just to ensure that the economy is being boosted by your business here. And so that's what we're working towards raising right now, so that we can get started with these different aspects of purchasing land, setting up a building, and then setting up the fitness center.
Our biggest prayer is that we'll have lots of people to introduce you to in heaven, who will be able to thank you for partnering with the Atwell family and this project, and say thank you, I'm here because you sacrificed.
You know, as we look at the challenge, I guess, looming before us, you know, this city specifically of 12 million plus people, less than 1% of which are Christian, it's a daunting task, but God is the one who accomplishes the work. God is the one who gets everything done. And so we just pray and ask that you would consider partnering with us.
You know, some people might say, you know, isn't it dangerous to take a little kid over there? But the truth is that there's a very well-developed health and medical system there in Bangkok in Thailand. And what's amazing is that this Asher is like their missionary, the best missionary of all of them. Yes, he's a kiss magnet. You know, all the ladies,
everybody
when they go to the
wants to
market,
hug him and
they grab him, hug him, kiss him, and he just loves it. He's just a wonderful little missionary. Great way to connect with people. And then, of course, Jessica and Brian hand out pamphlets and religious
talk
tracts.
to the people, because it's different. Thailand is very different. You know, here in America we do a lot of evangelistic series and things like that, but that doesn't. Some of that doesn't work in Thailand. Asher is creating bonds with people for them. And that's what works in Thailand.
Yes.
It's very relational,
Yes.
Asia especially, but all over the world we're finding this. Personal, one-on-one evangelism, personal connection, before there's any evangelism at all, is what's really working.
You have to be their friend.
Right.
You have to make that connection. And so service, be it helping them somehow, some way, providing that service, showing that in a practical way that Jesus loves them or you love them, that's what opens the door. Evangelism, traditional preaching evangelism in this society doesn't work.
No.
I mean, how would you be interested in going to a Buddhist temple here in America to learn about Buddhism?
No.
No. Well, that's how they feel about Christianity in Thailand.
Right.
Okay. So doing the one-on-one where they get to know you, get familiar with you.
They see your life.
Just like Jesus. What did he do? He mingled with men, won their confidence, and then said, follow me. And he took on their interest as his own, and then said, follow me. So this is the way it works in Thailand. And when you do it that way, all kinds of doors open up because people are very friendly. It's very easy to make friends in Thailand. It's very social kind of. You go out on the street in the evening and half the city is out on the street eating dinner. Mm-hmm. And they're just sitting there enjoying each other's company, and often...
And they'll say hello to you as you walk by.
Come eat with us. And it's a really wonderful way to do that. That's one of the things I miss about Thailand is that social atmosphere that you have.
Well, we need to continue our story because we're almost out of time. Now, they had a friend in their lives before they became Christians.
Yes.
Brian and Jessica had a rough life.
Yeah.
And they had a friend in that rough life.
Back then.
And they have an amazing testimony, both of them, and I'm sure his is as well.
Yeah.
But they met Josh Bowder. Now, after they were converted, and Josh also was converted.
Yeah.
And so they were friends in the new life as well, in the new life in Christ.
Yes.
And they talked to Josh after they found out about Bangkok, and they started having a burden for Bangkok. They talked to Josh.
And he got convinced, and he came with them. Actually, he came ahead
He was
of them.
there before.
Yeah. And he spent the first year teaching English with the Thailand Adventist Mission. And during that time, he met a beautiful young Thai lady, Christian, and they got married.
Okay.
And then over the course of the next few months, not quite sure when this happened, but they learned about the Onnut slum. It's the second largest slum in Bangkok.
Okay, and this slum is special to us because in one of the I Want the City episodes, we actually went there. Our family was there at the time, so the children and I went with you, and we gave away rice at this slum.
Well,
and
we
they
didn't, but we saw them.
We were part of it,
the team there giving away the rice.
Yeah, and they had a children's program, and they had a special prayer time by one of the Thai pastors there.
Yeah, and he prayed a blessing over the community, but the blessing was a walk through the Ten Commandments. And we've got a little video that shows that time.
All right, let's go to that.
Okay.
จากพระองค์ในเช้าวันนี้ในพระนามพระเยซูคริสต์เจ้าอาเมน
But they do understand a kind gesture, a smile, a gift of rice, and a personal offer of goodwill and friendship.
She said, welcome, come again.
See that lady in the background? That's Mrs. Watana. When she was a child, she went to see the Ten Commandment movie with Charlton Heston and had felt in her heart that this was truth. The next time she heard the Ten Commandments was 30 years later when Pastor Gamaplai read them over the loudspeakers. Her heart was again stirred and she requested Bible studies. Volunteers began coming every week, and now she's a baptized believer and a true light in her community. The question is, how many others are out there? Just waiting.
5 years ago, we were here and we shot the show Watana, episode number 4 of I Want the City. And the school had come out and gave a bunch of rice away. And people lined up here, and it was in that building. Yeah, so we're back. It's awesome. So now in that same slum where there was nothing, no believers, no church, nothing, there is a weekly gathering on Sabbath.
Well, praise the Lord.
And you can see there's Josh and his wife Chitlada. Brian often comes to this gathering. Here he's asked to do special music, right, off the cuff, without accompaniment. And there's Chitlada. She was my translator for the sermon. They asked me to preach. You can see Josh is starting, and Chitlada are starting to develop a real heart. And they have an amazing way with the children there. They do the Sabbath school and then the church service in the morning. A lot of prayer, about a half hour's worth of prayer there. It was wonderful. But then in the afternoon they go and visit the different families in the community that need help in prayer. And then after that they have children's program, and they take care of 30 kids all afternoon.
Wow.
And I've got another clip here that shows Josh with the kids, and he tells a story of one of these precious little children.
Okay, let's go to that.
Okay.
1 2 3 4 and
สะพานเหลืองนั่นแหละโอเคเดี๋ยวไปไหนต่อเควิน
This is น้องเตย
โอเค
น้องเตย say สวัสดี
สวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับ
She and her little brother, they live with their grandma, and she has about five or six grandkids that live with her. They're very neglected. She lets them do whatever they want. They always have money to buy candy. Always, they always have candies. And but you know, we were at the Festival of Faith. It was 3 days where we were camping with them, and me and my wife got really close to them, and they were with us the whole time we were there. Everyone thought they were our kids, and you know, we started talking to them, and they said we miss our mom, and we asked them where their mom lived, and they said that she lives in Bangkok. And we said, well, we live in Bangkok. How come we don't see them? And she said, oh, well, she lives with another woman. And so it's kind of common here in Thailand to where the kids get left with the grandparents and the parents come out from work. And so the parents replace love and affection and time with money. And so these kids always have 10, 20 baht in their pocket to buy candy, but they never have any affection or love or anything like that. And she thinks she's 18 years old, and her brother thinks she's a grown man. And they do grown stuff. They talk like grown people, and they're mean a lot of the time. And we spent 3 days with them out in the wilderness, you know, pretty much compared to Bangkok, camping with them, and they went from acting like little grown people to acting like little kids again, and you could see the way their life would just change, and the way they acted just changed, and they fell in love with us, but we fell in love with them before that, and they are the people. This little girl and her little brother are the reasons that we want to work down here. They were the first ones that we really connected with on another level, and a lot of times she's got an attitude, you know, but deep down she's nice, and she just wants to have a mom and dad, and when me and my wife are around her, she's super nice, and she's loving, and she loves affection, and we think that's a problem with a lot of kids down here, is that it's a big drug area, and a lot of the kids down here don't get affection, they don't get love, and when we tell them that they did a good job, when we tell them that we love them, when we tell them that we miss them, they don't know what to do. They'll like hit you and run away because they don't know what to do when you tell them things like that, or they'll just turn around and hug you because they don't hear it. And it really, you know, there's a lot of times where we get really discouraged because they fight all the time. And we have 30 kids at a time, and they're all fighting and punching each other and yelling and cussing at each other and everything. And then we'll tell one that they do a good job, and then he'll turn around and hug you, and he'll sit in your lap, and he'll just stay there, and he'll be the best kid the rest of the day. And you know, that's the kind of things that make you just want to keep doing it. And, that's what we want to do, is we want to help them, we want to show them that we love them, and more importantly, we want to show them that God loves them.
So you can really see his heart for those kids, and you can see the effect that their love is having on those kids.
Right.
So Josh is actually wanting to move into the slums. I got another little video of him playing with the kids.
Okay.
So go ahead and
yeah,
roll
they're
that.
feeling that burden to move in there and be with them more. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. But here he is playing with the kids.
I came here in 2010 and spent 9 months doing a documentary.
สวัสดีครับน้องไม้
Oh, wow.
So you can see these kids he's like a kid magnet, just loving it. And he wants to move to the slum. He wants to be there full time for these kids. He feels the Lord calling him there. So pray for him. Pray
Yes.
for his wife.
Yeah, it's not an easy place to live.
No.
And, some of the houses actually are over water, and many of them don't have toilet facilities. And anyway, I went into one of the homes there, and you went into several of them. And but they're precious, precious, beautiful people.
Isn't that
so
what Christ
sweet.
did? He came to this earth when there wasn't running water.
Yeah.
He could have come to this earth here in the 20th century, but he came back then when didn't have all that stuff. So pray
Yes.
for them that they follow the Lord in whatever he calls them to do. But more than that, I just am so proud of being a part of a ministry that can support someone like him and his wife and the Atwells as well.
Right. And there's so much work to do, and if we looked at the sheer numbers, it would be completely overwhelming, and we would just say, there's no way, and we would give up.
Right.
But we look to God, and his word says, this gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Amen.
So we have to trust him to know what he's doing. His word doesn't lie.
Right.
And so we know that's coming, and we want to be a part of it because it's full of joy. And, Brian and Jessica shared with us that they went to Bangkok because they knew that God was asking them to go, and they had to obey.
Yes.
And they've expressed to us before they wish more Christians, more Adventists would just obey God's call because they have found so much joy.
Yeah, and they don't really understand why more Christians don't just obey. That's what God said.
Right.
So let's do it.
Right. Let's do it. Let's get
Let's
this
do
work
it.
done.
That's right.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a perspective from one of the church leaders at the time.
Pastor Jim Brower was asked a question, and this is for the show, I Want This City.
One of the mindsets in America for Christians is that missions is, if it's not done already, it's almost done. It's just about there. What are your feelings on that?
Well, when I go home, I tell people, well, Jesus can't come tonight. And they look at me like, huh? What do you mean? He's coming any day now. And I go, well, there are millions, billions who have never heard of Jesus. So I think it's safe to say he's not coming tonight.
That's really sobering and sad. And I think that as Christians, we want Jesus to come so that we can go home.
Right.
But what about all the people that haven't had a chance? And
our friends and neighbors in heaven.
Yeah, they're
what about them?
Putting everything that we have into the Gospel Commission, into furthering the Gospel Commission. It just maximizes our time in heaven, our enjoyment of heaven, all the friends that we'll have up there.
Right.
So I say, let's go for this.
Yeah, and we want to invite you to be involved also. Please prayerfully consider how the Lord may be calling you to help forward the work of these awesome missionaries that are laboring for his precious Asian children. You can send your tax-deductible love gift to Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or check out our website at jesusforasia.org. God bless you until we see you again.